Alright, guys, I'm here watching the post debate coverage with Trevor Noah because I didn't watch the debate because the debate didn't have Tulsi Gabbard, my lady, in it. And quite frankly, I wanted it to have a drop, a significant, noticeable drop in viewership because, quite frankly, what they've done to her is criminal. She has been polling consistently above between 3 and 6 of the candidates on that stage. Why was she not there? Because they couldn't handle her being in a third debate. Because in the first two debates, she has slain two of their candidates very effectively and made a very big name for herself, being the #1 Googled candidate after both of them, which clearly shows that there's interest in her. So why was she not at the second debate, you might ask? Ask the DNC. Because she has polled above 2% in 28 odd polls, but only two of them have been qualifying polls. And if you're asking what qualifies a poll, it means the DNC funded it. Interesting that. They only did, 4 or 6 of them after the second debate as well, when she really made a name for herself by destroying Kamala Harris. But we're not talking about that anymore because that was such an awesome moment that I've watched it too many times on YouTube to be relevant anymore. Even if it might be unheard of to you, and if it is, you should really check out Tulsi Gabbard take out Kamala Harris in the second debate. It was amazing! But anyway, I just watched an abhorrent commercial by, was it Ron Reagan? Paul Reagan? Something like that. This guy with a eyebrow that looked something like this, and was talking about being a lifelong atheist and wants to keep church and state separate, and you should donate to my... And, you know what, guys? I hate to say it, but I got a little bit triggered by that. Because, I'm a lifelong sort of agnostic, atheist, sort of... I've never pertained to know. I don't want to assume that any particular book is better than any other book. But, at a certain point, you realize that by not reading them, by saying, I'm not going to interface with this significant compendium of knowledge that we as humans have developed over centuries, that it's ignorance. It is keeping your head in the sand and saying, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look, I'm not going to look. And you know what? I'm not saying that you should go join a cult or a church or whatever. But I'm just saying that there's a lot of stacks of books over there, but this one right here, all of that is spirituality. And at a certain point, I just went, you know what? I'm just going to read it all. Bible, Quran, some... I just went after it. Ram Dass, went after some Buddhist texts. I tried to... I mean, it's hard to go after the Judaic stuff because it's all in Hebrew, but I went after some people who sort of have summed up some of that stuff. I've gone into the ancients, I've gone into Blavatsky, I've gone into the occultic stuff. I decided to just sort of see, like, where did all of this, where's everyone weighing in on this stuff? And I've come to realize that there is a pretty common consensus overall through most of it. And there is a higher thing. But more importantly, I've had some brushes with it. You can, if you just clear your mind and ask a question, you can get an answer. If you open your chakras, you can see kind of the future. You can run through several different options of what the potential future realities could be and experience them, live lives of other people in past. But it's all sort of in the here now, but at the same time not. I feel like you're sort of shaping what reality kind of is. I don't know. Like I said, I've never pertained to know, but this is sort of... I've heard of these texts of people saying, I've been a nun, a pauper, a poet, a king, like these, and I had that personal experience about a year ago where I was Nikola Tesla for a bit. I got to live some of his life and make choices for him, as him, maybe even shaping what is where we are now. Who knows? I don't know. But and I was a nun. I was a peasant who was a minstrel, a number of different things. But the point is, there are objective experiences that you can have, and you can call them hallucination, but consistently people have said the same things about them. And over thousands of years. You can know more about what happens after you die, or what a spirit is, or what the difference between how I embody my body and how a tree embodies its body, because we're all star stuff that turns into built up stuff, and it's all alive, and it does interact to a certain degree. You can take a skin cell off a person and move that person 500 miles away and scare them, or make them watch something that is erotic or adventurous, and they will have a response, right? And that skin cell, if you hook it up to an EKG, you can measure an electrical response on that skin cell 500 miles more away, because DNA has this awesome thing. And if you know anything about quantum entanglement, you can take something very far away and both particles have to move faster than the speed of light at the exact same, however they're moving, they just do that thing. There's a lot of interesting things out there. Bottom line is, if you are going to discount people just because they want to claim themselves a spiritualist rather than a scientist, a lot of our greatest scientists were spiritualists. So you can be an atheist, agnostic, whatever you want to call it, but I urge you to not discount people who want to think differently, because I've never really subscribed to any particular religion. I've definitely spent some time sort of perusing churches and came to the conclusion that they weren't for me. If that's the way that you find spiritual unfoldment and progress, that's great. Like, whatever works for you, do it. Love you. Great. Keep doing it. As long as you're not promoting violence or divisiveness, as long as you're not being too dogmatic and close-minded, recognize that it's about communing. It's about compassion. It's about opening yourself up, whether you're opening yourself up to Jesus, opening yourself up to the world, or just letting whatever happens happen. Whatever you want to call it. Personally, for me, it's that connection with the universe. But there is this objective thing that's out there. And you can call yourself an atheist and still find it, quite frankly. It's non-theistic. It's just there. And we could teach that in school without offending anybody. I just probably did. I mean, I could list off 100 different world religions. I wish I had a list of every single one. I would, sure. But bottom line is, it's about whether you want to promote openness and compassion, loving thy neighbor, and being striving to be the best human you can be, opening your heart and your mind, and recognizing that there's more than our physical body in this universe. Or if you want to be closed-minded and say it's literally physical, it's only what's here, it's only what I can see, what I can personally verify based on my limited human experience. Like, let's recognize, how many things seem foreign and impossible until you have personal experience? I have no idea how to make a shoe, but I could apprentice with someone who knows how to make a shoe, and then very soon be like, I could make any footwear I want. And I realistically would need to practice a lot before I made a lot of it. But bottom line is, when you're not versed in how to make something or how to do something, it may seem impossible. That doesn't mean it's actually impossible. It just means you don't have experience with it. And I just urge you to, before you discount the fact that this could all be metaphysical mumbo-jumbo nonsense, try just meditating for a month. Try a week of silence. Try reading, 4 books from 3 different religions. I don't know, whatever sounds cool to you. Just recognize that these are some really profound people writing words that have helped a lot of people to become better people. Just, you can go into as much detail as you want, but at the basic level, like a lot of people have, like, you may think they're crazy for it, but they are compassionate people. They're fulfilled people. you may think that they're deluded, but I personally don't subscribe to any deity other than uh, higher purpose, I suppose. Recognition that I can ask a question to the universe and I will either feel a really strong surety in my chest or a knotted feeling in my gut. Even a question that I could have no way of knowing the answer to, like, did Kurt Cobain kill himself? And I'm really curious. Please comment and give me an answer to this one because I'm curious. Don't give me like your logical, like, well, based on what I've heard. Just quiet your mind, meditate out, and ask the universe a yes or no question. Or sorry, no, not a yes or no question. Or whatever works for you. Personally, I like to ask it like, I give it a scenario and it sort of confirms it, or it goes, not that one. But I'm not going to give it away, what I personally sort of grokked from this one. But I'm curious what you think. When you ask the universe, what do you think happened on that particular scenario? And after you get an answer, once you sort of feel like you have an answer, I want you to ask the universe a very simple question. Can you show me more? Let me know what you find out. I'm really curious about this one because I've had some personal experience on it. But with that, I think I pretty much summed it up. You can be an agnostic, atheist, spiritualist. I personally just believe in positive spirituality. I think there's something to be said for breaking bread with people, for cooking meals and sharing experiences with people. I think that some religious groups are good at doing that. Some religious groups are really good at indoctrinating and keeping people way too busy to actually learn any good knowledge. So you got to be careful about how you practice and what you practice and who you're willing to tolerate. And you also got to be willing to recognize that a lot of these groups have been given a bad name by just a few people who do some really bad stuff, like the Inquisition. I mean, Christianity is a religion founded by a dude who threw the money changers out of the temple and went, feed people, heal people, love people. And yeah, the Bible says a lot of things. It talks about ritual sacrifice. The book of Revelation sounds like a really good way to sort of like convince people that the end of the world's going to come after they die, which it's not. That's one of the great things about, sort of reading these texts and having some of these experiences. You realize like you can go out of your body and still be an entity. There are a lot of entities that do not have bodies that still, exist and play around with us and love us. And that transition is going to be rough if you don't have faith. Not belief, but faith. The surety in your gut that you know that there's more. And how to deal with it. Because when you die, whatever's up here in those final moments, that's going to become your reality. If you believe you're going to hell, strap in until you can sort of realize, like, I don't want to play this game anymore, and you can transcend that. But some people are going to be so convinced that they deserve it that they're never going to be able to. And they're going to create their own reality and get stuck. And maybe come back as a... Who knows? I'm not going to pertain to understand too much of those sort of things because I haven't experienced it. I've just sort of read it and intuited some of it. But I'm fairly new as an intuitive, so forgive me if I say some things that I end up having to backtrack later, but I will. I will always tell you when I'm wrong. I'm very good at that. I try to be consistent with my facts. I read a lot of books. I talk to a lot of people, and if someone can really convince me that I've been misled on something, I will always, always, always represent the truest truth that I can. Which is why I like candidates like Tulsi Gabbard, because honestly, I don't think she told a single lie on this entire campaign. And you can correct me if I'm wrong on that one. I encourage you to. Okay, you know what? She might Trump bash a little bit more than is strictly 100% truthful. But she still Trump bashes less than most other Democratic candidates. And only in ways, for the most part, that are truthful. Every now and then she will overstep and exaggerate, but honestly, when you compare it to some of these other people that are saying the most important thing to do in 2020 is to beat Donald Trump, it's like, no, I'm sorry. The most important thing to do is to recognize that we have a bit of a trump card here. We have an option where it's like people might actually not vote in blue no matter who. We need to actually pick someone who the people are going to get energized for. But if we do, we're going to end up with a really great world. And if we don't, we're going to end up with Donald Trump arresting all the child chillers and people that like to really make a lot of kids end up going through some horrible things. So, 120,000 sealed indictments, people. There's usually about 1,000 sealed indictments every year, and currently there are 120,000 sealed indictments in our court system right now, and 500 people being arrested in California, and 500 people being arrested in Toronto, and the Catholic Church being dealt with to a certain degree in size. The Church of Sky Law and the scary science church, we'll call them, has a court case going against them with 27 lawyers prosecuting it, and there's a second Lord of the Rings Two Tower thing court case being brought up. There's some crazy things happening in courts right now. Google is being brought up on censorship charges. Really, some crazy things are happening in the world, and I really think that while you may believe that the world's kind of messed up, I would urge you to consider the fact that those camps that some people are making so much big fuss about were made under the Obama administration. And as far as I'm aware, the deportation rate has actually gone down. And a wall is going to... You're right. People who say that it's not going to stop drug traffic, you might be correct on that. You know what it is going to stop? People's being moved. And they suffer. Women get abused. There's a large market for the little ones. And you know what? A wall will make a big difference against that. And you know what else it will do? It will free up resources to go other places. And quite frankly, he's using the military budget to do it. And I feel like if you disagree with me on this one, you probably are drinking way too much of the Kool-Aid, but that's one of the better things that our military money has been spent towards. For the kids, dudes, that's real. So, there are a lot of people who have a lot to lose by letting him have 4 more years in office. And the media sock puppet people who fund the sock puppets are squawking a whole lot because there are things happening that scare them. And there are also things happening that scare me. I'm not going to lie, there are a lot of things that Trump's doing, or that are happening under Trump. It's hard to say what Trump is doing versus what is happening in Congress. It's a whole thing, right? Like, it's politics, it's smoke and mirrors. What do I actually know? Only what I can figure out, and into it, and read about, and hear about, and sift between what is true and what is one interpretation versus another. But at the end of the day, clearly he's ruffled some feathers because we have awesome candidates, as far as I can tell. And if anyone wants to really disagree with me, I'd love to hear about why. But I feel like we have 4 candidates that actually stand a chance, as well as the awkward thumb that is Joe Biden kind of pretending to stand a chance. And let me tell you what I think about Joe before I go into these 4. I think Joe, originally up until about, well, earlier today actually, I sort of just thought of him as sort of a smokescreen. He's there to basically make so that people don't look at other options. They're just like, oh really, we're still talking about Joe Biden? I don't care about politics, and that's stupid. And then they're going to vote for whoever, pops up at the end, right? Which is whoever they can get enough momentum behind. But I've come to realize Joe is a little bit more nefarious than that. Joe is sort of their counter ultimatum. You need to vote for our candidate who has the best chance of being the nomination that is one of these 4 that we like, that isn't Joe Biden. Because if you don't, Joe Biden will be the next nomination. We can't have that. I'm sorry. Anyone who thinks Joe Biden's a real candidate needs to go away. He's not. Nobody thinks this. He is losing his mind. He's falling apart. He's talking about the fact that we could have already cured cancer and about putting biometric scanners on our guns. Joe Biden is a joke. So, they've presented a whole bunch of corporate candidates that the people have generally, for the most part, seen through. Kamala Harris, slain. Pete's just not building enough momentum. Beto is laughable. Booker is a quarterback and a one-upman and not getting any traction. Both Booker and Kamala are not polling as well as Tulsi Gabbard. Castro seems like a pretty cool dude. But the bottom line is, they're not getting the momentum. You know who's getting actual popular support based on what I've seen on Twitter? I'll tell you who. Marianne Williamson's doing pretty okay. I mean, within some fringe markets, but I'm not going to worry about her. She's cool. Like, I really think she did some really great things to just sort of be another progressive voice out there, but there's just a way better option that people also aren't talking about, and that is Tulsi Gabbard. She's amazing. Seriously. Watch half an hour of her on YouTube. Not smears of her talking, and you realize she's the realest people's candidate that there is in this country right now. She's truly incredible. And you might have some reasons where you might believe that she's a corporate stooge or this or that, but I'm telling you, she sure as heck ain't. They are trying so hard to keep her from getting out there. Do you think in your entire memory, and let's talk to the older generation on this one, can you come up with a single time where you've ever heard of a presidential candidate taking time out of their campaign to go serve National Guard duty? No. That's unbelievable. And you know what? You still haven't heard of it because they didn't cover it. That is unbelievably patriotic. And they're not covering it. Worse still, they are smearing her for being a terror supporter because she wants to end the forever war. Okay? Are we understanding this one? She's going after our alphabet overlords. She's promoting a universal basic income and ranked choice voting. She has the most progressive and honestly best environmental policy, revitalizing our coral reefs, fixing our air, oceans, and streams, going with organic farming practices and agro-tourism. She wants to open our education. She's the only candidate who wants to open our education curricula so that we can actually learn real history and economics and stop falling for the same crud we have for a very long time. And she wants to get us off fossil fuels by 2035, not 2050. And she's going to use way better technology than wind and solar to do it. Guys, Biden's not an option. The options, as far as I see it, are Warren, Bernie, Tulsi, and Andrew Yang. And of those four options, we're going to do pretty okay. Of those four options, I think 3 of them have a pretty good chance of beating Donald Trump. I do not think Warren does. If you do, I really, really urge you to check out Tulsi Gabbard, because she's just better than Warren in every way. But also, remember, have you heard, I'm sure you've heard this propaganda campaign that she's a flip-flopper or that she's just the next Hillary Clinton, and personally, I buy into that. I think that honestly she seems pretty corrupt. But if you don't, it doesn't matter. People do. There are a lot of people who do. Now, can you imagine your average Trump voter flipping to vote for Warren? And you can imagine there are people like me who aren't going to be impassioned to vote for a corporate candidate. And what does that mean? I don't necessarily want another Trump till 2024. I would much rather have Tulsi Gabbard. Because honestly, that is the greatest America possible. If you want to make America great, vote the person who's going to do everything right. Who is standing up to the establishment in every way that she needs to and has shone a light on every single corporate nest of profit hounding nastiness. One thing that I do really like about Tulsi Gabbard that I think is, and you might very much disagree with me on this one, that I think Bernie Sanders is a little bit lesser on, is this Medicare for All thing. And I know it's a contentious issue, but she's for health care for all, and Medicare for all who want it. Not all who can afford it, all who want it. She's also for a UBI. Pretty cool idea. Oh my gosh, that is a game changer, people. Job program is cool, but giving everyone the ability to not work so they can research, so they can figure out what their passions are, is so much bigger than a job program and a $15 minimum wage. And I think she's for a $15 minimum wage too. So, I mean, she's just got all the right policies. I haven't heard a single thing that she said that I'm really like. The only thing that she's voted on that I've disagreed with is her BDS vote. And I understand why she did it, because if she didn't, there'd be a lot of people jumping down her throats for being, the worst anti-Israel person that's ever voted on anything ever. And every other candidate running on that stage voted the same way she did, except Bernie. And quite frankly, if Bernie had to vote on it, he would have voted on it too, because he has always sided with Israel. That's what he does. That's one of the things I like about Tulsi Gabbard. She's called out Netanyahu by name. She's called out the people who fund terror by name. She's kicking butt. She's seen the worst things that war can do, and she's gained the right lessons from it. No more. No more. And really, let's take the blinders off, people, and really let's recognize what a primary is. A primary is our option to pick the best option for the general election, right? And we already pointed out that there's really 4 candidates here that are all pretty decent popular options. So even if you vote for your favorite option and they don't win, you're looking at Tulsi, Bernie, Warren, and Yang. None of them are that bad. So vote for the person who's going to do the best job. And really, when you think about Tulsi Gabbard running against Donald Trump, we're talking about the multi-spiritual Christian Hindu woman of color, 16-year patriot who has the right position on every policy and wants to stop calling people names. Now, there's a lot of people on the other side who are just like, I would probably vote blue if they stopped calling people names and tried to end wars. She's promoting a peace dividend that is going to save the planet, and an environmental policy that's going to follow right along with it. She's been calling out Big Pharma a lot. And the reason that I think that her policy is better than Medicare for All is because if you get rid of every insurance company and give the government the control to do everything related to insurance, let's think about that for a second. Right now, one of the biggest issues is that we are not utilizing some of our best and cheapest cures. We are instead doing a bunch of treatments and medicine that cost and make a lot of money. And we need some competition here. Now, I'm not saying that the government option needs to be the cheapest, best option. It needs to give a floor for everybody. It needs to make it so that anybody who walks into a doctor's office or a hospital can get the care that they need. And ideally, I would love, and Tulsi Gabbard supports, a plan that promotes, vitamins and preventative care rather than catastrophic, expensive procedures. But bottom line, we need to make it so that people can get the care that they need. And if the private insurers can't keep up with a cheap, affordable option, then they're going to go out of business. But on the other side, if the government plan doesn't want to cover some alternative procedure that happens to be really effective, some other company could come along and promote that procedure. Be like a plan that's like, we do all of these, alternative procedures that have been proven to be really effective, like hypnotic therapy. I don't know if you know, but hypnotic regression can be really powerful for some psychotherapeutic things. But a lot of people might think that sounds nuts. But if you personally don't, you could potentially find an alternative insurer that wants to support that. But if there's only one insuring entity, 100% they decide what is and is not considered medicine. And if you want something that's not, you're going to have to go out of this country to get it. And I don't trust the people who currently make our laws to do a good job doing that. So I really like the idea that there would be other companies that could sort of give a check and balance to that. Because, okay, I'm going to give you a bit of background here. My mom has worked for an insurance company for 12 years, and this is a nonprofit that with their extra funds goes out and gives dental to the homeless community in my city. Now that's freaking cool. And, they try to do their best. And I feel that companies like that should be able to persist as long as they provide the best care at the best prices they can and really try to do right by their people. And if people like the fact that they're going to provide better coverage and do things that are above the basic level and they're willing to pay for it, let them exist. I think that is very American, very freedom forward. And it makes sure that that one government edifice doesn't become really scary. But even beyond that, let's just take a step back for a second and let's look at what a 2020 runoff is going to look like. Tulsi, Bernie. Both of them, it's one of them against Donald Trump, right? Bernie's got this whole crazy socialist thing going on that Tulsi doesn't have. If you've heard a bit about Tulsi Gabbard, it's probably that she's got a lot of support with the right. And you know what? You know why that is? That is because everybody likes ice cream. And what I mean by that is just because a serial killer might like ice cream and I like ice cream doesn't mean I'm a serial killer, doesn't mean I support serial killers, doesn't mean I should, reevaluate whether or not I like ice cream. It means that even someone who might disagree with me on a lot of things can recognize when a really good thing comes along. And just because she's getting support from a white supremacist or a Hindu nationalist or whoever, that might be just because she's saying enough rational things that people have heard and go, huh, that's kind of amazing. I'd vote for that. Can it be that simple? Maybe it can. Maybe the reason she's on Fox News is because no one from CNN, MSNBC, whatever, will cover her. She hasn't been on Colbert like Andrew Yang. She hasn't been promoted on The View during an interview with Bernie Sanders like Andrew Yang. They asked her, hey B, have you heard about this guy, Andrew Yang? He's promoting a universal basic income. Do you think that's a cool idea? It's like, literally, you're basically just saying, hey Bernie Sanders supporters, can you please support someone else? I'm sorry, but Andrew Yang is supporting the most censorship policy I've ever seen. When I first joined the campaign and started paying attention, I was like, dude, UBI guy, that sounds pretty cool. Then I read his media policy. It called for fake news police. And the people who decide what fake is were to be nominated by industry. A lot of people complained about that one, so it changed a couple months ago to a new policy of reunify the press. Now, for those who may not know too much history, fake news police is what they used in World War II Germany to censor ideas they didn't like. And reunify the press is what has gone on in both communist Russia and China. And they really like their reunified press. So those are historical definitions of censorship. So if you want to try to argue with me that he's going to promote free speech or that he's humanity first, I got some good arguments for you there. I've been arguing with Andrew Yang, or his gang, a lot. That's another thing. He's got a gang. Historically. Nope, you know what? I'm not going to try to... No, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to throw shade. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. I see through Andrew Yang's thin veneer. He is sheep dip. These CIA dudes, they spend 3 months here, 3 months there. The revolving door between industry and government. I've read enough books to realize that, not even to realize, to have it described to me that this is the way that they do it. They want these people to look impressive. They've got so much stuff glommed onto them that they can just look at him and go, oh yeah, he's one of ours. I'd give him some money. Or your everyday person go, oh, he's done all those things in his life? I haven't done any of those things in my life. He must be qualified to do the job. And then we wonder why these people are willing to lie and do whatever they want to climb the ladder, end up not being good options for the people. Unfathomable, really. But you look at Andrew Yang's history. He spent 3 months as a lawyer. His dad has 69 patents with 2 companies that worked with the clowns in America. And after his 3 months as a lawyer, he taught J.P. Morgan bankers how to make more money and made his millions on Wall Street. Created a philanthropist company that directed where a lot of people's money went. And founded a few other failed companies. I think sold one, maybe a successful company eventually, and then created a job creation company that, after 8 years in existence, has created 1% of its goal job creation. But yet, after just 1 year of creation, he was nominated by the Obama White House as an ambassador for change. And he's also given speeches warming up for the Bill and Bush panel. So, I don't know. He might have a few too many corporate ties for my interests. And when you compare his blatant censorship policies to Tulsi Gabbard suing our alphabet overlords and being censored out of the third debate because they couldn't handle the heat after the first two, both of them promoting a UBI, both of them promoting ranked choice voting. Tulsi will take any policy you want that you like of Andrew Yang's because she's already promoting most of them on the floor of Congress in most cases. Vote for the best option this year. We're going to get a good option no matter what. But truly, she's got the best of all worlds. Oh gosh, what was this video even starting about? Was this the atheist video? Oh my. Well, if y'all aren't familiar with me here on Gabbin AlohAmerica, we do tend to hit the whole compass. So, thanks for joining me. Hope you enjoyed the chat. I'll see you on the next one.